I'm Sydney Hay, and while we are waiting for Monica Ramos to come out of her visitation with her husband Ignacio, we'll go ahead and start. I have a statement I'd like to read on this, the day before Thanksgiving. Border security is national security. Our Border Patrol agents are heroic in this fight to keep our nation secure from the very real threat of terrorism. They are heroic in the fight against human smuggling and drug smuggling. They are our front line of defense in the war on terror and the war against drugs. Recently, the Democrats in Congress stripped the funding that would have increased the number of full-time Border Patrol agents to 23,000. No wonder Americans have lost faith in their government's ability to secure our border. And considering the grave injustice that has befallen two Border Patrol agents, Ignacio Ramos and Jose Compean, is it any wonder that the recruiting of Border Patrol agents has become so difficult? Today, on the eve of Thanksgiving, we count our blessings. None is greater than being able to gather with family and friends tomorrow around the Thanksgiving table. Ignacio Ramos and Jose Compean will not be at that table with family. Ignacio Ramos will be here behind us in solitary confinement. The drug dealer whose testimony sent this man to prison is finally being prosecuted for smuggling a load of narcotics into the United States after he had been given immunity by the U.S. Attorney, but before he testified against Ramos and Compean. The fact that the jury was not told that the prosecution's star witness had just been apprehended with another 700 plus pounds of narcotics is an outrage. Just prior to holding up his hand in a courtroom and saying, "Trust me, I'm going to tell you the truth," he had committed another felony and brought more drugs illegally into this country. This information was withheld from the jury, who, if they had known, would have had major doubts when this man swore that he was unarmed. Testimony that sent these two Border Patrol agents, Ramos and Compean, to prison for a length of sentence that defies reason. There are murderers and rapists that have done less time behind bars than these men will serve if something is not done about it. This strikes at the very heart of our judicial system. Here in America, you have the constitutional right to confront your accuser, to cross-examine him, to bring out any fact that might have bearing on his credibility. Nothing is more effective in discrediting a witness than a felony indictment. This case cries out for a presidential pardon. The president has pardoned the Thanksgiving turkey, and we all had fun with that light-hearted tradition. But a greater tradition in this country is justice, and Ramos and Compean have been denied justice. Ignacio Ramos is in prison here in Arizona, and so it is up to us Arizonans to let him know that we will not leave him forgotten behind these concrete walls and barbed wire fences. We must act. I am asking every Arizonan to add Ignacio Ramos to your Christmas card list. And when you send him your card, letting him know that your thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, send another card, or an email, or a fax, or a phone call to the White House and urge the President of the United States to do the right thing. You can send your cards. I've already got mine ready to go in the mail today to Mr. Ignacio Ramos, 580-79180, at the address 37910 North 45th Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona, 85046. You know, the president pardoned Scooter Libby because the 30-month sentence was too harsh. Surely a sentence of over 10 years for doing one's job to protect our national security rises far above that level. Congressman Duncan Hunter has sponsored H.R. 563, the Congressional Pardon for Border Patrol Agents Ramos and Compean Act. He has been the foremost congressional leader on this issue. Congressman Franks, who joins me here today, is a co-sponsor of that legislation. Congressional pardon legislation has never been done before. Some say it cannot be done. It is worth trying. It will keep the light of day shining on this travesty. It may compel the President to act. If President Bush does not do the right thing before his term ends, Duncan Hunter, who is not running for re-election, knows of my commitment to this cause and has asked that I take up the mantle if elected to Congress, and I have agreed. I pledge to you that as a member of Congress, I will not rest until these men are released from prison. And now I'd like to introduce Congressman Franks for a few words and a statement from Duncan Hunter.
Well, thank you, Sydney. First of all, let me just say that I associate myself in every way with Sydney and her remarks today. I think that they are almost difficult to add anything to it from my perspective. But just to relate this in simple terms, two men, Ramos and Compean, were, in my judgment, in the process of doing their job, trying to protect the borders of this country, when they encountered Mr. Aldrete Davila. And according to them, he was armed, and they were facing a situation where they had to deal with it in strong terms. When they went to trial, it was essentially Mr. Davila's word against theirs. And if the jury had known that Mr. Davila was a drug dealer and was not only carrying drugs at the time, but had later been indicted by this government for an additional felony of carrying drugs, trying to carry drugs across this border, I am convinced the jury would have come to a different conclusion. I don't second guess the jury. I second guess the U.S. Attorney for not giving the jury the information that they needed. This is a clear situation here where these men, in my judgment, were kept from having a fair trial. And I think that, again, Sydney's remarks go a long way toward explaining it in the best terms possible. But I do have a statement here that I've been asked to read by Congressman Duncan Hunter, who is running for the presidency of the United States. And I think that his words are pretty focused here. He also has a letter to the president that I hope the media here today will somehow disseminate at least the critical parts of it to the public, because they deserve to understand the foundational elements of this case. And I understand, is this Ms. Compean here?
Mrs. Ramos.
Mrs. Ramos here now. So I will go ahead and read this statement by Congressman Duncan Hunter. Understanding the miscarriage of justice that has been perpetuated against these agents, Ramos and Compean, I have introduced H.R. 563, legislation granting a congressional pardon to these agents. While this has never been tried before, legal advisors have stipulated that it has never been adjudicated and that there is some indication that such an action might be valid. Regardless, since the agents remain in jail, I believe it is appropriate to try this course of action. Over 100 of my House colleagues agree and have co-sponsored the legislation. In addition, I have sent a letter to the President to reevaluate his previous position and immediately pardoning these agents at this time of Thanksgiving. I want to thank Sydney Hay for organizing this press conference today and for what she's doing to organize Arizonans to both reach out to the Ramos family during the holidays and to contact the White House in support of the pardon. In addition, knowing of her strong commitment to righting this wrong, I have asked that when she is elected to Congress, that she take up the mantle of leadership on the congressional pardon issue. I know Sydney Hay to be a fighter. She will not give up the fight for justice for Ignacio Ramos and Jose Compean. And I just want to add my words to that related to Sydney. Sydney is a fighter. I believe that we need people like this lady in Congress, because I believe that she demonstrates today that she's willing to go against the tide and to stand up for people that she believes have suffered injustice. And I just want to thank her for that and let her know that I'm behind her in every way. And I hope I see her in Congress, and I hope I see Mr. Compean and Mr. Ramos free in the very near future. Thank you very much.